Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Truth Behind the Magic. I am your host, Jason, flying solo once again for this episode. We are doing another episode in the series of the weekly news roundup. Not quite as big of a news week as the previous episode, but that's pretty hard to beat when you have literally the theme park plan for the next 15 years coming out. Tiana's opening. It's pretty hard to beat that. I mean, you'd pretty much have to have a new park being announced or something along those lines, but still an interesting news week. I figured it was interesting enough to make a video about, because definitely some big stuff. The first story especially is pretty big news. But yeah, I guess we'll dive right into it. So the first story here is the new Genie Plus overhaul, and I'll just kind of throw this in there as kind of an aside, but it is relevant to the story. I was actually working attractions when they rolled all this out initially, and it was, I wouldn't say it was quite the headache necessarily, but I know cast members and guests had some trouble with it. I remember we had to go take a class, like each cast member you'd get sent at a different time. You'd just see it on your schedule, like class or whatever, and you'd go, I believe it was a 4-hour class you had to go take it wherever it was in Hollywood Studios, and everyone got an iPad, and we literally learned how to use, honestly most of the class was learning how to use Disney Plus from a guest perspective, because you really had to know how to use the software to even assist anyone with it. But yeah, definitely an interesting period. So they're changing the name. I wish they would just go back to Fast Pass. I think everyone wishes that, both in name and use only, but that's kind of a digression. They are changing it from just being Genie Plus or the individual Lightning Lane to now being called Lightning Lane Multi-Pass and Lightning Lane Single Pass. So just make it Fast Pass again, please. But there are some major changes happening regardless of just the name changing, and some of them are pretty interesting. Some of them I'm definitely on board with. It definitely needed some help, so some of these changes I do not have an issue with at all. The first one is you can now make selections for your lightning lanes ahead of your visit. I think probably the biggest issue we ran into with people was that they had problems booking attractions that morning, because you had to do it at 7 a.m. You had to book everything. And yeah, we always had people having issues with that. And now you can book 7 days in advance for resort guests and 3 days for anyone else. I believe back in the day, Fast Pass, you could book, was it 30 days in advance for resort guests and 7 days for everyone else? Something like that. But at least they have improved it over the current situation. I miss the old days of being a cast member, just hopping on, like, either day of or a few days before when you decided you were going to go to a park. You knew you weren't going to get the prime stuff, because, I mean, that always gets booked out early. But, you know, you could get Pirates of the Caribbean, Splash Mountain, like, you could get good stuff. And obviously it was free, so I think a lot of people miss those days. You'll be able to book multiple days at once. I think that's very useful, because obviously, like I said, you had to do it day of, 7 a.m., so now you can book everything at once. One interesting thing, though, is that you can only do this early booking if you are inside the United States or Canada. Apparently Canada is the one exemption for this internationally. I don't know if that has to do with trade deals and just how we deal with Canada on an international level, but yeah, if you're an international traveler, keep that in mind. For some reason, you're not allowed to book it until you're actually in the US. Interesting stuff there. And another big thing is this introduces attraction tiers, which I'm gonna read these over real quick, and then I'll kind of give my thoughts on this, because I find some of this to be a little bit odd, just to put it simply. So there's 2 tiers, tier 1 and tier 2, and of course, like, the ultra tier would be the individual lightning lanes, like Tron, Rise of the Resistance. I feel like that ride's almost to the point it shouldn't even get it anymore, to be honest. Guardians, those things are like the above tier 1, but tier 1 officially is when Magic Kingdom, Big Thunder, Jungle Cruise, Peter Pan's Flight, Space Mountain, Tiana's Bayou Adventure. I feel like that'll be a tier 2 soon enough. Epcot, Ratatouille, Frozen, and Soarin'. I'll come back to that because I find that kind of funny, but Hollywood Studios, Mickey and Minnie's, Runaway Railway, Smuggler's Run, Rock and Roller Coaster, and Slinky Dog Dash. And Animal Kingdom doesn't have tiers at all. They were like, we understand the park situation here, so there's no reason to even do this. Like, I understand why they did that. Tier 2, this has a lot more in it. At Magic Kingdom, you have Space Ranger Spin, Haunted Mansion, Pirates, It's a Small World, Dumbo, Mad Tea Party, PhilharMagic, Laugh Floor, Barnstormer, the Magic Carpets, Winnie the Pooh, Tomorrowland Speedway, and Journey of the Little Mermaid. In Epcot, you obviously have less than that. You have Figment, well, Journey into Imagination, Living with the Land, Mission Space, Spaceship Earth, Nemo, Turtle Talk with Crush, and the Disney Pixar Short Film Festival. I don't really know why that's on there, but Hollywood Studios, quite a bit on there as well. Tower of Terror, Toy Story Mania, Swirling Saucers, Star Tours, Beauty and the Beast, the Disney Junior Sing-Along, or whatever that thing is. I'm sorry, I don't really know the official name, but I haven't done it personally myself. The Frozen Sing-Along, Indiana Jones, and Muppet Vision. Now, obviously, the first thing when it comes to this is that I've seen a few people saying this, that the noticeably absent thing are character meet and greets, which I know some people may be like, why would you Lightning Lane a meet and greet? But you see the wait times. I mean, you can see them get up to an hour and a half or more for the really popular characters, so it almost is as useful as getting a park Lightning Lane sometimes. So kind of surprising not to see that. We'll have to see how that plays out. Kind of just looking through the list here. Oh yeah, Soarin'. I think it's interesting that they put it as a tier 1 attraction. They're basically just admitting there's not enough in Epcot to even really have a tier 1. So we kind of just, I guess they threw it in there so they would have at least 3 in there. And at Hollywood Studios, I'm really still surprised that they are still considering Smuggler's Run that level of an attraction. It opened while I was there in 2019 as a college program participant. I got to ride it within the first week or 2 of it being open. It's good. Obviously, if you're the engineer, you kind of just sit back there and push a button like 3 times, but still, it's decent. But some of these that are in the tier 2 for Hollywood Studios, I don't really understand the placement. You have Tower of Terror, which it must have a good capacity, a good dispatch rate, because it stays, when both of the elevators are running, it stays at a pretty low wait time, like 30, 45 minutes. It can get higher, but I still would consider that more of a tier 1 attraction than Smuggler's Run. I know it's still newer, but I mean, it's an icon. It's the icon of the park now. Toy Story Mania, My Old Workplace. It's kind of a sleeper attraction because I don't know if a lot of people consider it like one of their top attractions. I think it's the most fun interactive game type attraction anywhere. And even before I worked there, I thought that, it can get up to 90 plus minutes, I know from working there. And it has the highest dispatch rate of anywhere in Hollywood Studios, one of the highest dispatches of all of Disney. I think really the only things that are higher are the Omni Mover type attractions. Someone might correct me that there's something in Hollywood Studios that has a higher capacity, which could be true, but I'd be very surprised because it has 3 tracks. You know, you're dispatching every 30 seconds, 8 people per ride or per ride vehicle. It's a lot, and it would still get up to that high of a weight. So it is still a premier attraction, even though it's been open for getting close to 20 years now. Other than that, most of it seems pretty normal. I mean, I would find it funny if someone was using their lightning lanes on Living with the Land, but that kind of stuff's always going to be on there. But that's really it when it comes to the Genie Plus update. Some new stuff, but at the end of the day, it's just paid Fast Pass. I think that is what it'll always be viewed as. I doubt they're going to do anything really to make people come around to it like they did Fast Pass. Number 2 on the list, something that I have found interesting for a while, but was just recently confirmed. I actually didn't even realize until today it had truly been confirmed by Disney. I thought it was just a rumor. But the Frontierland Shootin Gallery, or the Shootin Arcade, I call it the Shootin Gallery, I just think it sounds better, but it has officially closed. It closed on June 23rd. It's not like I had some connection to this like I did with Splash Mountain. I only did this maybe once or twice. It wasn't an opening day attraction. It was put in there in 1992. And I guess before I really get into the discussion, I should say it's being replaced by Disney Vacation Club Lounge. That's been confirmed. That was really the thing that was rumored for a while, but no one was sure. But getting beyond that, I'll kind of go into the analysis now. And like I said, it's not like I had some connection with this, but it honestly perplexes me even more than what they did to Splash Mountain, if you can believe that or not. I find this even more perplexing, because when it comes to Splash Mountain, I can understand why they did it. I do not agree with it, but I can work it through in my head that I can work through why this happened and how it came to be. You know, people with power that had a certain agenda were able to push it through, and, you know, you also had people that were legitimately saying, we don't think this is relevant anymore. Not that I agree with that either. I think there are things on Disney property that are far less relevant than Brer Rabbit, Zippity Doo-Dah. You know, that's one of the biggest songs of the past 80 years, bar none. Even outside of Disney, everyone knows that song, just about. But even beyond that, like I said, that's at least a fair argument to an extent, and there were people that were able to get that pushed through, so it got rethemed. Like, I can at least work through why that happened. Now, the product that came out, that's another discussion. But this, I just don't understand. Like, I can't really fathom in my mind why this is a good, or why this was a decision at all. Not even if it was a good decision. I just don't know how this even came to be, for multiple reasons. The only thing that I think makes sense about this is that it's kind of pointed towards Disney's new base of people, that they are pretty much the target audience now. That I would say the 1%ers, not at all to say that Disney Vacation Club is only for the 1%. It's not. It's actually fairly, not necessarily fairly affordable, but you don't have to be in the 1% to get it. But that's really, I mean, that's who Disney is going for now. It seems like everyone's been kind of pushed to the wayside. But that's the only thing that makes sense at all about it, is that it kind of catering towards that demographic. Everything else about it makes absolutely no sense. Like I said, opened in 1992, has been there for over 30 years, fits the theming of the area perfectly. It's not something that people are going to go out of their way for. You're not going to get a lightning lane for it, even if you could, obviously. But, you know, kids love it. I'm certain of that. Some adults probably love it. It's not like it's a big crowd eater, but it at least takes up time for some people, which means they won't be on attractions otherwise, which you could say that about the DVC Lounge as well. But once again, that's only for a specific type of person. You know, everyone cannot enjoy that. And once again, I'm not even saying that there shouldn't be a DVC lounge. I think there should be. When you're paying that much, I hope you utilize that lounge as much as humanly possible. But there's just multiple things about it beyond that that are perplexing to me. It's an extremely small space. I even looked on Google Maps, you know, the show building, if you could even call it that, for that. It's bigger than it appears to be, but I know some of that has to be shared with Adventureland on the opposite side of the building. I'm sure half that building is probably being used for those shops. So it's an extremely small space to have a lounge. The one in Epcot is considerably larger from what I have heard. Obviously, I have not been in there. But even from comments that I have seen and what people are saying, that lounge is quite busy, or at least can get quite busy, and can even have wait times to just get inside the lounge. I mean, you might as well just go on an attraction at that point if you're having to wait. Maybe they should have something in the hallway to the lounge, you know, something on the wall for people to watch while they're in queue. But yeah, people are saying, you know, how is this even going to work? It's going to be packed wall to wall, and we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. But one other thing that bothers me, and this should bother you, it should bother the Disney fan base as a whole, and it should bother investors mostly. So we don't have a Mary Poppins attraction in Epcot. That, along with a myriad of other things, got canceled due to COVID. You know, multiple entertainers and bands and things were let go during COVID. Still haven't bounced back from that. Stitch's Great Escape is an empty show building gathering dust. I mean, I don't know if that's literally or figuratively true. It could quite literally just be dust stacked upon dust. And yet we're building a DVC lounge. Like, come on. It's not that this is going to cost, you know, bukus of money out of the shareholders' pocket or anything, but why is this the priority? You know, they talk about these blue sky projects. We'll see if that happens. I find it very dubious that that would ever happen. But they talk about these projects, like I said, empty buildings, attractions that are in desperate need of refurbishment, and we're building a DVC lounge out of a shooting gallery. What universe is this? What are we doing? It's literally just perplexing. That's the only way to put it. I guess that's pretty much all I have to say about that. If you remember anything from this video, it's perplexing. And I don't know when the DVC lounge is slated to open. I would have added that to this if that's actually important to you. If it is, like I said, go enjoy it, you know. If you have DVC, utilize it as much as you can. Get your money's worth. So on to the third and final story here. It has to do with 4th of July plans. Not really a big story, but it just irked me, and that's really why I put it on here. And this is regarding Magic Kingdom and Epcot, which obviously the two premier parks, basically, still to this day. So Epcot was supposed, and this was officially announced, they were supposed to have their Heartbeat of Freedom fireworks display on July 3rd and July 4th. I just did a first and second symbol, even though it's 3rd and 4th. I don't know why. For the first time ever, they were supposed to have it on more than one night. And Magic Kingdom was supposed to have extended hours for all guests. July 3rd was 8 a.m. to midnight, and July 4th was 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. And if you've been to Disney around this period, you know what it's like in there. I went in there on July 3rd on my college program because I just wanted to see what it was like. Not even July 4th, which it's probably close to being as busy, but not quite as busy. It was so packed. I walked in, I saw that Pirates was like a 1 hour wait, and I had already been somewhere else this day, so it's not like it was a total waste, but, I may have gotten a Dole Whip, and then I skedaddle out of there. I said I'm glad I got to see this at this capacity just to experience it, but I don't know how you'd get anything done on that day. So going back to Epcot, just days, it was literally 2 or 3 days after the initial announcement, Disney came out and said, oh, the fireworks are only going to be shown on July 4th at Epcot. Sorry, folks, you know, we made an official announcement, but too bad. In Magic Kingdom, similarly, oh, so you thought you were going to get some, you know, pretty good extra hours here. It's actually just going to be 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. on July 3rd, which is basically normal hours, and 8 a.m. till 11 p.m. on July 4th, so you get an extra hour, you know, that's enough to... You can do Space Mountain, you can do Mine Train, you can do it all in that extra hour, you know, that's possible. So, like I said, it just irks me. It irks me. People are saying that it was not supposed to be announced. Someone made, like, a clerical error. Bunk. That's a bunch of bunk. And, you know, obviously that's probably the kindest word I could think of here, but that is not... I do not believe that for a second. For the Epcot thing, and like I said, this is just a guess. I could be completely out of left field with this. It sounds like a money thing. I mean, when is it not a money thing these days? Why would you not show that on July 3rd and 4th? I know what happened, actually. I just realized. I understand what happened. They took the money for the July 3rd fireworks show, and they're building a DVC lounge with it. Breaking news, you heard it here first on Truth Behind the Magic. Put that on Twitter, put it everywhere. Sounds like a money thing to me. And just from my experience there and everything, the Magic Kingdom debacle sounds like a staffing issue. As you may have heard, you know, college program people are pretty much called closing people after about 5 p.m. I would say the majority... I mean, it's definitely true to say the majority of people you interact with are college program, wherever you go, just about. And especially those extra morning hours, it could be tough to staff that. I mean, I understand it. That, like I said, could be completely out of left field. I thought they kind of had crested those issues with staffing, but it sounds like it still might be a nagging issue. But yeah, it's just at least don't announce it if you're not going to do it. Stop getting our hopes up. Throw people a bone every once in a while. Actually let the people have the fireworks on July 3rd. Like, it's like I said, what are we doing? What is going on here? Just, for once in the past 2 decades, throw the people a bone, for goodness sake. We don't want a DVC lounge. We want fireworks on July 3rd. Like, I just don't get it. I know this has kind of devolved into a rant this entire episode, but I at least hope it's been entertaining. And also just kind of a last point here on this. The Celebrate America 4th of July concert in the sky at Magic Kingdom will take place on both nights, which I think it has for quite a few years now. But yeah, that's all I have here. I appreciate everyone listening. Like I said, I hope you at least found entertainment, even if you don't agree with the takes. But that's pretty much it. I'll be back with another video when there's another big news week. Maybe Blaze, my quality co-host, who you've probably seen on the channel. If you're a regular, you definitely have. Hopefully he will be back by then. We will find out. But other than that, have a good one, and I will see you next time.